Hello my friends and welcome back to another Brotato class guide. Today we're covering the Spooky Ghost. This is one of the most requested builds that I have not yet completed, so really excited to bring you this one. I think this character is so requested because it is widely considered one of the most difficult and worst characters in the game, and while I agree with that in some ways, I disagree in other ways. I think that one of the issues with Ghost is that it really highly benefits from understanding the math behind how armor and dodge affect your effective HP. So I'm going to take a moment to talk about that at the beginning of this video. We'll take a brief digression into sort of back-end mechanics. If you are not interested in that and just want to skip ahead to the gameplay, of course, feel free to do that. That will start in a couple minutes. But I'm going to talk you through kind of the math of how armor and dodge work in this game. So armor in this game scales your effective HP linearly. What I mean by that is each point of armor is worth exactly the same as the point before for positive armor. We'll talk about negative armor as per this class in a second. If you have 100 HP and 1 point of armor, that scales your effective HP by 6 2/3%, meaning that you have an effective HP of 106.66, and so on. If you had 10 points of armor, it would scale it by 66% for an effective HP of 166.66, and so on percent over effective HP. Meaning, if you're taking damage in instances of 10, and you have 100 HP, and 10 armor, it will take 17 attacks to kill you, so that's where you get that effective HP number from. No matter how much you increase your armor, each point is still only worth exactly that 6%, and so it scales very well as you continue to increase your maximum HP. Each point of armor becomes more valuable because it's based on a percentage of your max HP, but armor doesn't become more valuable as you build it up with stacking with itself. This is in contrast to dodge, where each point of dodge is more valuable than the one before it. The reason for this is that dodge decreases the average damage incoming by a non-scaling percentage. So let's say you have 10% dodge, and you have 100 HP and are taking damage instances of 10. If 1 in 10 of those attacks miss, on average, each attack is going to deal 9 damage to you, which means that you take 11 and a bit attacks in order for you to die on average. So it's increased your effective, the 10% dodge has increased your effective HP by just over 11%. On the other hand, if you have 50% dodge, it's going to take 20 attacks on average, which means that you have increase your effective HP by 100%, and if you have 90% dodge, which is the dodge cap for the ghost, then only 1 in 10 attacks are going to hit you, reducing the average incoming damage from 10 to 1, meaning that you've increased your effective HP by 1000%, or multiplying it by 10, or for our example character with 100 HP and 90% dodge, it would take on average 100 attacks before they died. This is incredibly powerful because this character has an extremely high dodge cap. But, on the other hand, you get minus 100 armor, which means that you have which will give us plus 87% incoming damage, or more like 88%. We can kind of round that up and just say that incoming damage is doubled. It makes the math simpler, which incoming damage being doubled just effectively halves our maximum HP. So overall, the ghost, once you have your 90% dodge, is going to end up taking double damage, but only 1/10 as frequently as any other character, and will end up with 5 times the effective maximum HP of a normal character that had no armor or dodge. It's important to recognize that this is an average, though. You still take these huge damage instances every time they get through your dodge. You don't actually have 5 times as much HP. So while it is certainly possible to live 5 times as long, just because of the way the incoming damage works, if you happen to have 2 damage instances get through your dodge in a row, you can still die very easily because you are taking large damage instances, and because you're taking these large damage instances, it's harder to heal up in between taking damage. So while the ghost ends up with more maximum HP, you're still in a way quite fragile, just because if you get unlucky, you're still going to pop very quickly. For the actual stats of the ghost, we get, as we talked about, minus 100 armor, dodge cap of 90%, and 30% starting dodge. Because we are sort of required to use ethereal weapons, we're going to get 30% dodge from the ethereal weapons as well. So once we have our full weapon set online, we'll have 60% base dodge without having to buy any dodge. So we actually only have to increase that by 30% more to hit our cap, but we'll have minus 105 armor. And we get plus 10 flat damage with ethereal weapons. This is more valuable, of course, for the ranged weapons, for the Ghost Scepter, than it is for the melee weapons, because ethereal range damage is worth double melee damage. So this bonus naturally lends itself towards using Ghost Scepters. I think that there are two ways that you can build Ghost, basically. You can either just build 6 Ghost Scepters and use your high dodge cap and very high HP, plus the flat damage with Ghost Scepters, making it a viable weapon, to just become a tank and tank through everything. Or you can build a mix of weapons and try to have the DPS from the melee weapons as well as the HP from the Ghost Scepters to kill stuff. I prefer building a mix. I think it's both more fun and slightly stronger overall. It will also be much more likely to let you kill elites. So for that reason, I think that the starting weapon that I will recommend is going with the Ghost Axe, because it will help you clear the wave fastest for wave 1. You can't ever get an HP off the Ghost Scepter in the first wave. It doesn't attack fast enough, and the Ghost Axe is basically guaranteed to give you a stat off of the first wave. We are going to build kind of an even split between all 3 weapons, but emphasizing the Ghost Scepter where possible, because the HP is still really valuable. It's okay in the early rounds here to take a couple hits, but we're going to try to stack up these enemies to hit them all at once. I didn't quite manage to get those last 3, but we still made an okay amount of money and at least got our stat point off the first round. Alright, let's roll this. We could just take 3% dodge, but obviously if we can get some harvesting online, that would be really good. So I'm willing to spend 5 looking for harvesting. We didn't find it, so I'll just take some max HP. Like I said, that's going to be really important, and even though we will be building that off the Ghost Scepter, building it right at the beginning helps as well. We'll take both of these weapons and roll looking to lock more weapons, and in fact I think I am going to lock this entire shop. All of this is really good. I'm also going to combine my Ghost Axes into a level 2 Ghost Axe to try to maximize the number of stats we get. 2 weapons should be fine for wave 2. It shouldn't impact our wave clear significantly. Once we get past wave 3, I'm going to stop aggressively combining weapons, but I think you can squeeze out a couple extra points of stats without losing out on money before that. I took a few hits there and actually almost got myself killed, and as a result was not able to kill those trees, so that was poor play, but hopefully we can recover from that. Definitely would have been nice to have broken those trees, though. We'd be have a lot more money. I'm just going to take max HP here, and then I'm going to just buy the weapons at this point and leave these 2 locked going into wave 3. I will combine this, have 3 weapons. I think that's fine. Obviously, if I had broken those trees, then we'd have been able to at least re-roll, hoping to lock another weapon, which would have been really nice. Haven't seen a Ghost Scepter yet, and that's definitely not a problem yet, but it could be an issue if we don't see one. You do definitely want to get an early Ghost Scepter online. We should, even though on many characters I would take these landmines because we're only getting 5 materials for recycling them, we should always try to avoid anything that kills enemies that aren't our ethereal weapons on this character, because we want to be maximally stacking our stats. I will just take 4 melee damage. We do have the 10 base melee damage, so we can sort of say, hey, we've got 10 damage already, but the attack speed and percent damage that we're building will scale well with the melee damage, and I'd rather not reroll, so I'm just going to take the most valuable thing there. You grab the coupon and the bee and the tree, and lock the ghost flint, I think. Just grab all the economy items. It's possible I should be grabbing the flint, but I think at this point we're okay. I threw in one reroll there because it was cheap, and I'm going to lock the duck. Luck, I think, is quite important on this character as well, because, of course, we're going to be mostly a melee character, even though we will eventually build Ghost Scepters, if I ever find one. But we still want to be generating a lot of consumables in order to heal. Healing on this character is really important because we're going to be taking such huge damage instances, and we need to heal up in between any damage that we take, so we need to heal quite quickly. On this character, as long as we're not taking damage, it's okay to just chase around after maximizing our kills. We don't need to kill specific enemies or anything. We just want to get the most kills possible to start building up stats. As you can see, we've already got 5% damage, 3% attack speed. It's not much, but it's definitely something. And then here, I'm just going to continue to take maximum HP. I would like regeneration as well, but getting our max HP to the point where we can take multiple hits, I think is really important. So that's our kind of first goal. Grab this flint and duck and roll, and we find 2 more non-scepter weapons, but that's okay, because at least we have gotten our ethereal set capped. We're now at 64% dodge, so our effective HP is already quite high. At this point, I think we are probably taking damage instances of... It's usually about 1 per wave, so I think we're taking 10 damage at a time here. It depends on what enemy hits us, of course, but that's a good rule of thumb for how much damage an enemy will deal to you. We want to have 2 or 3, ideally 3 times the expected incoming damage in case we get unlucky and don't dodge, because that will let us maximize our time to heal up in between taking hits. It's more important to kill enemies, I think, than to pick up materials here. Just to make sure that I'm getting at least one of my stat points every round, but picking up materials is also, of course, very important. I'm going to grab this bag. That's an excellent find. We already have a little bit of luck, so that's good, and I guess I'm just going to take a level 3 melee damage. I normally wouldn't be taking melee damage this heavily on this character, because, as I said, we already have a bunch of flat damage, but given that it's a level 3 and our others are level 1s, I think it's totally fine to take that. Here I'm just going to take dodge. Of course, as we get our dodge up towards 90%, everything gets much easier. I'm going to roll past all of this. Ugly Tooth would be better if we had a Ghost Scepter, but with negative speed... No, I'm going to take the Ugly Tooth, just because it will help a lot with elites later on. We do need to increase our speed as a result, though. Finally got a Scepter. Even a level 1 Scepter will help a lot with building up some HP. I'm going to combine, buy the Scepter, and buy, because I would rather have more axes than more flints. I think in order you want scepters, then axes, then flints overall, just because axe is typically a better weapon than the flint. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that the flint benefits more from the flat damage, just because it has a lower base attack speed. We are going to then upgrade my flints to level 3 and a level 1. And you can use either HP regeneration or lifesteal for this character. I typically prefer regeneration and consumable healing because we have melee weapons, and I like that more on melee characters. And roll once more because it's wave 5, so we're guaranteed a weapon. That makes it fairly likely that we'll find a weapon upgrade here, which we did. And in fact, I think it's early enough we can benefit pretty heavily from the black belt as well, so I'm going to lock that and just lock all of these things. Another thing, if you're struggling with this character, is you should consider re-rolling until you don't have a wave 11 elite. Like many difficult characters, this one is most likely to die on an elite on wave 11, so if you want to make the character easier on yourself, then re-rolling for hordes helps a lot, and re-rolling for something that's not a boss wave that's not wave 11 will help you a lot. I haven't looked at where our elites are for this wave yet, but I should definitely check that. And of course, hordes have the added benefit on this character of helping you build your stats on your ethereal weapons more easily. Even though we do definitely need max HP and we're building some percentage damage, you should still just take efficient percentage damage and attack speed items when you find them. It's very important to get those numbers up, and it scales very well with your flat damage. Definitely take some luck here, and I'm going to start building some health regeneration just because it's the level 2 item. Let's upgrade, and let me take a look. Okay, so actually this layout I think is probably the best for the Ghost, the Wave 12 Horde, because that will give us the most opportunities to farm stats before we have to fight an elite. Let me keep rolling. We should avoid items like Cyberball because they will steal kills from our ethereal weapons. Do this combination by the Ghost Axe and lock the weird food. Go to Wave 7. The one thing that we're sort of really missing at this point is an upgraded Ghost Scepter. On Wave 7, we want to clear the eggs as much as possible, so I'm going to make my way around and clear eggs. On lots of characters, it's right to let them hatch, but on this character, of course, we want to clear them because we don't want to spend any attacks. We never want to spend multiple attacks on a single enemy. We want to maximize number of enemies killed. So to help us farm stats on our ethereal weapons. Well, I got lucky there actually because my max HP is too low at this for this wave right now, so I can only take one hit before I die, and I dodged the second hit, which is something that will happen. You will sometimes just randomly die on this character because you don't dodge twice in a row, but I should definitely have avoided that. Definitely need to increase my speed to make that more possible. I'm going to take the level 1 harvesting. I think that's fine. And then this is interesting. So Little Frog gives us harvesting, which we do really want still, but also decreases our dodge. I think it's okay to take it at this point, but it's very possible that I should be avoiding decreasing my dodge at this point in the game. I think we will still have time to build that up, but as long as my Ghost Scepter is still one-shotting small enemies, it's okay. But I will need to make sure that it's still doing that, and I'm also trying to target it on small enemies rather than have it hit the large enemies. Because we need to actually start building up some HP from it. See, I dodged 2 hits in a row there, trying to avoid these chargers as much as possible. One thing that we are missing is we haven't found any attack speed, so while we're building some off of our flints, our attack speed is really low, and that's what ethereal weapons suffer from the most. I will still take this Cyclops Worm, of course. It's just a very efficient item. And then here, I'm just going to take max HP. I would also like to boost my ranged damage back up, but given that we have only found the one level 1 scepter, max HP is going to be really important for us. Here I'm going to take attack speed, because that helps a lot with the scaling on our ranged weapons. Or on our ethereal weapons. Poisonous Tonic will be really good for us, so definitely grabbing that, and then we'll keep rolling. And here I'm going to take the Snail. Roll again. Lure is also good, as is Cake. And I'm not going to lock the injection, although I would probably buy it, but we just want to get our max HP up to like 100 as soon as we can, so going to just keep buying max HP. We would most like to do that, of course, with Ghost Scepters, but with only a level 1 Ghost Scepter, that's just not very reliable. Wave 9 is, of course, the wave where you get most of your stats from, since it's a farming wave for every character, but for ethereal characters it is even more important. One issue that I do have right now is I have no current way to heal other than consumables, so we are a little at the mercy of any hits that I take. Which means I'm not able to play quite as aggressively as I would like in terms of farming stats on this wave. Ideally, we would have enough healing and dodge at this point that we could play super aggressively and make sure that we are really maximizing our stats. We're still going to end up making like 500 materials, which is really nice, and getting a couple dozen stat points in various things, but of course we didn't get as much HP as we wanted to. When it's free, I'm going to take the whetstone because lifesteal is still good. And then here, wave 9, I think it's still worth taking harvesting at this point, although we're reaching the point where I need to start prioritizing other things. I'm going to roll past the level 2 melee damage. I think we can do better in terms of what we find, although it's getting expensive to roll into something else. Well, still ended up only with a level 2. I guess we only have 12 luck. I kind of thought we had a little more, so maybe I shouldn't have rolled that aggressively, but we'll take max HP. That's really good still. Lure, of course, great, and then we're just going to buy out this whole shop. Here's another ghost flint. I don't have any weapons to combine, and this is always an issue for this character, of course, is that when you're building split weapon sets, you can sometimes not have weapons to combine. Flint is going to be the least valuable of our weapons right now, so I'm going to just roll past it, and I'm not going to buy the acid, even though we want max HP, because I also really want to start boosting our dodge before we get too far into the game here. Let me grab this and roll, and we can get adrenaline. That's an excellent find for this character. It gives us a very reliable heal, which is something that we're definitely missing, so that's really nice to have. Go to wave 12. Still struggling to have enough HP because of our Ghost Scepter. Also notice that it's no longer one-shotting enemies, so I either need to replace it or buy a bunch of ranged damage, because if it's not one-shotting enemies, it's never going to farm stats. Okay, it's still one-shotting the little guys. I just need to make sure I'm targeting them, but ideally our Ghost Scepters would be leveled and performing better, giving us a few more health points. But you play with what the game gives you. Trying to break these trees, but also trying to make sure I'm clearing all the small enemies as they spawn to maximize our stat gain. At this point, the 17 incoming damage is not enough to really put us in jeopardy, and I've also gotten a bunch of consumables onto the ground, which makes us a little safer. 3% dodge on the chameleon for minus 4% damage. I think that's still worth taking, as opposed to 35 materials. We're never going to stand still, so the 20% dodge doesn't matter. But each point of dodge becomes so much more valuable as you gain each additional point of dodge that I think this is still going to be a pretty significant increase to our overall survivability. That being said, when it's free, I think I'm still going to take the acid. I just talked about how much we need dodge, but we also do need max HP. I'm going to keep grabbing melee damage here just because it's level 3 and I don't really want to reroll, and we finally got some increased speed. I need to take that even though I badly want the dodge as well, but being at negative 10% speed is just unworkable as we're getting into the later waves. Bowler Hat, still going to be really good, as will Metal Detector, as will Recycling Machine. So we just found a whole stockpile of econ items there. Leather Vest, less good for this character than most, because the armor doesn't really matter. Reducing the incoming damage by 1% just won't matter very much, but of course 6% dodge is still very valuable for us. So we'll grab that and then roll. Garden is actually quite good, since we do want ways to heal that are quite reliable, and we're going to need to heal in large bursts because we're taking large bursts of incoming damage. So I'm actually going to lock the Garden and then go on to wave 11. I would really like to upgrade my weapons here. We haven't found any ethereal weapons in a long time. But given our quite high melee damage, we're at least doing quite well off of the axe and flint attacks, even if our Ghost Scepter has kind of fallen off usefulness at this point. We've also been able to buy quite a lot of HP. Normally, you end up building all your HP from your scepters, but since we were able to buy a decent amount of HP, we're less at risk than we would be if that was not the case. and can consider just sticking with these melee weapons. I wouldn't intentionally build this way because I think the Ghost Scepter HP is so important to this character's game plan, but given that this is how the build has worked out, we have to work with what we've got, as always. Pickup range is really good, of course, so I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to take 6% dodge over 12% damage. We're building quite a lot of damage here, and I really want to max my dodge out soon. Power generator is going to be negative in damage for now, but of course it makes each point of speed we find more valuable, so I really like buying that anyways. I'll buy the garden, I'll buy the little muscly dude, and we are going into a horde wave, and it's a free reroll, so I think I'm going to take the Scar. This is quite late to buy Scar, but because we are going into a horde wave, so we're going to get a lot of materials, and it gives us a free reroll, then I think it's okay to buy Scar there. Lock Poisonous Tonic is just a great item. And would have loved, again, to find leveled up weapons. It's very possible that I should be rolling more aggressively for them, but we've gotten pretty good stuff every shop, so I think we're doing okay. We've only gotten 7 HP from this Ghost Scepter, but that's 7 more than we'd have without it. But obviously leveled up weapons would be very valuable to have going into a horde wave, because we could clear the horde faster and get more stats per enemy. As you level ethereal weapons, the number of kills they need goes down, so you get effectively more stats per enemy as you level your ethereal weapons. At this point you can see that we are dodging most of the time, because we have like 80% dodge or so. So until I take my first hit, I'm going to play pretty aggressively, just tank, and then we're going to back off a little and heal up. Took another hit, so I need to go pick up some consumables. Having consumables on the ground is super valuable for any character, but especially for this character. Also, something to keep in mind is that this game uses invincibility frames. So when you take a hit, you become invincible for a short time after taking that hit. And the dodging a hit counts for that. It gives you your invincibility frames. So when you have very high dodge, you can jump into groups of enemies, and between the high dodge percentage and the invincibility frames, you will not take anywhere near as much damage as you might think you would. Clover is excellent. We want the luck, and we are almost dodge capped now. And then I'm going to take speed, because speed is also damage. I do want some regeneration, but everything is going pretty well here. I could take range, but I'm not too worried about our range, honestly. I'm just going to reroll this and hope we get something better. 9% crit chance. I guess we actually have decent crit chance, so we could start considering building some crit chance here. Buy the Poisonous Tonic as well. I do need some form of reliable healing, because right now we're relying entirely on our garden and our consumables, so definitely need to find some HP regen. Fairy or something along those lines would be sort of the perfect item, or torture or something like that, but for now I think we're okay. Bait is pretty dangerous on this character because we don't have the damage to clear the enemies super quickly, and they do very high damage for the wave, which is doubled. Given that, I'm still going to take it, but it's quite risky, and you may want to pass on bait on this character. I'm going to keep rolling past all this stuff. Really still looking for, finally, a weapon upgrade. I guess I will just, upgrade my Ghost Flint here. I could take the sunglasses. Obviously, our armor doesn't matter that much, so 10% crit chance is pretty good. Pumpkin would be good if I had piercing attacks and more Ghost Scepters, but we don't have either of those things right now, so we're going to pass on it. Given that we are still not building too much HP with our Ghost Scepter, I'm going to lock this Acid and hope to find another dodge item to bring us back up to cap, but I think we really do want to just buy max HP. Max HP is so valuable for this character because it scales so well, or your dodge scales it so heavily. Cleared the bait aliens pretty quickly. The fact that our build is mostly melee does mean that we are higher damage than your average ghost build. So we were able to clear that quickly. But notice how much damage I took when I took a hit there. So I have to start being really careful, and we have no reliable healing. So every time I take a hit, it puts me in a pretty bad situation. Wave 13 is also just a bad one for this character because it's all high health, like small amounts of high health enemies. Any wave that has lots of low health enemies is going to be way better than any wave that has few high health enemies because you need to farm your stats. Leather vest is exactly the item that we needed to bring our dodge back over cap, so we do lose some HP, but we still want that. Do I want this attack speed? Our attack speed is pretty good at this point. But I could also just take this. I think I'm going to roll and look for max HP or move speed, which is also damage. 20 luck. I think I'm just going to take 9% speed and 9% damage. It's just really nice to have both of those things. And then I will grab this acid, and that brings our dodge still to cap. And in fact, I'm going to buy out the rest of this shop. Wheat is good because we use both ranged and melee damage, of course. Although, again, this build cares less about that than most ghost builds will. But I'm still just really looking for better weapons. Community support is still going to be good even though we have very high attack speed. More attack speed is good, and like I said, ethereal weapons tend to scale with attack speed best because we have high flat damage, and the thing that makes ethereal weapons bad DPS is just they have 1-to-1 damage scaling, but they have very slow base attack times. So having additional attack speed helps a lot, even as we already have a lot of it. Alright, let's try to beat an elite here. Having the extra move speed should help with that. Gonna clear these eggs before they hatch off of this elite. This elite as a summoner on a summoning wave is definitely a danger to us, and because I have no regen, we may not be able to actually fight this elite properly, so I'm just gonna back off and hope we don't die to the projectiles. At this point, I am kind of relying on my damage here, or on my dodge here, because we can only take, I think, 1 hit before dying. But with 90% dodge, we are at least able to relatively reliably dodge things. Sometimes this happens on elites for this character, is you just are not going to be able to fight them, so you have to play super carefully. And wave 14 is a wave where you just have to play really carefully on a lot of characters anyways. So sometimes just, you know, you just have to give up, cut your losses, and make sure that you are surviving through the wave. I'm going to recycle this because we have a recycling machine, and I'm going to recycle this as well because our damage is super high already, and I do just need max HP. I'm going to grab this regeneration because I really want to start building up some healing. Like I said, healing has been our major issue recently, so let's grab any regeneration, any lifesteal we can. I'm going to still buy the fertilizer, though, because the harvesting will pay for itself pretty quickly. Normally, Blindfold is one of the best items you can find on this character because it's crit chance and dodge for penalties you don't care about. I'm still going to buy it here, I think, because being a little over dodge cap does help in terms of finding stuff that we want. Finally found another Ghost Scepter, which I will still buy, and I'm also going to lock another Garden. Riposte is going to steal kills from our weapons. At this point, we care less about farming stats, and the extra damage is going to help a lot. So I'm going to actually buy the Riposte as well. Make sure to farm all the summons, both because they're worth stats and because they make it hard to dodge. So as soon as you kill one of the summoners, stand on their location and clear out the rest of them. Heal back up to full. That's why we've got all the consumables on the ground. At this point, our offensive stats are high enough that I'm not worried too much about that. But what I really am missing is that a normal ghost build would have something like 150 or 200 health at this point from farming with ghost scepters. So the fact that we don't have that is making this a lot more risky and a lot less consistent than I'd like. Definitely jump into that big pile of enemies, though, and pick up all our stats. Recycle this, and I could get some more crit chance to increase our damage. I could also just take 2 regeneration. I'm going to reroll this, I think, because I think we can maybe do better. I guess I'll just take some more attack speed. That will just help us clear things. Okay, so we got a Ghost Scepter. I'm going to upgrade our axe here and buy another Ghost Scepter, and hopefully between these things we're able to build our health a little faster. And I will also combine these flints and buy the other flint. Do I want the night goggles? We don't really care about losing the armor. Our crit chance would be 50%, and that does help a lot with the Ghost Scepters. That will make them one-shot things, which means that they will be more likely to actually farm HP for us. So I think I will take night goggles here. Let's go to wave 16. We are not going to have a lot of time to build up stats on these scepters, but if we even get like 20 HP out of them before the end game, that will help a lot in terms of not just dying immediately to the bosses. Some of this also, we're having a little bit of trouble with this run, mostly because I haven't found Ghost Scepters, but some of it also does come back all the way back to Wave 2, where I took a bunch of damage and ended up short on materials. So I wasn't able to reroll for... Oh, I shouldn't have eaten all those consumables, but I wasn't able to reroll for weapons. And on a weapon set like Ethereal, where you really want to upgrade them a lot, it's really important to get your weapons upgraded in the first wave when you're guaranteed to find more weapons. We managed to pick up a lot of HP that round, so that feels pretty good. I'm going to reroll this and see if we can get anything that helps with healing. Probably some lifesteal here. I think I'm actually just going to go with luck and use the consumables. Alloy is good. It would decrease our dodge down to 89%. But it does give us melee and range damage and crit chance, all of which we want. Let me buy the weird food and definitely upgrade the ghost flint here. Do I want the alloy, or am I just rolling for something better? It's quite a lot of damage for us, so I think I'm going to buy it. Because the flat ranged damage works so well with our Ghost Scepters, because we have such high percentage damage, so I'm going to buy the alloy there. Sharp Bullet is an excellent find. Banner, I don't think we need. Spicy Sauce will still steal kills from our weapons, but it is quite a bit of damage, just given our maximum HP. So I think I'm just going to lock it. No, I'm not going to lock it. I would buy it, but locking it doesn't seem worth it to me. With our very high crit chance, and then of course the piercing that we're going to get, we should be able to build up a few more HP from our scepters before the end of the game here. My goal is to end at something like 150 at this point. I would prefer closer to 200, but that seems quite unrealistic. Because we're going to be taking damage instances of 25 or 30 from the bosses, meaning that I want to be able to tank through all of those. Something like a medical turret would also help a lot. But right now we're just relying on consumables and adrenaline to heal. Take the speed, of course, because that's really good. And yeah, I'm just going to take some lifesteal. Just getting even just a little bit of additional healing, I think, is going to be quite valuable for us. We'll take the Sharp Bullet and roll. Wolf Helmet, I don't think has much purpose for us right now. Obviously, we don't use the elemental damage, and the luck is not terrifically valuable. Sad Tomato is very good for healing, of course, but we don't have great healing to support it, and starting at half health means that we will have to spend a lot of time running around healing up. I think I'm still going to take it, but you could very easily be... that could very easily be wrong. And at this point also, do I want Alien Eyes just for some additional damage to the boss, or I could take Compass, which is also just 5% damage and 5% speed. Alien Eyes is going to steal kills again, but it's quite good against elites because you can get near them and hit them with several projectiles at once. It also pierces thanks to our piercing, and can apply lifesteal. I think I'm going to buy it. I wouldn't normally buy all of these non-weapon sources of damage like Riposte and Alien Eyes, but because this character is coming out a little bit weird, I think it's kind of useful to do that. Get near this elite, make sure I'm not tanking its attacks. On its first stage, you want to like move and then stop, and on its second stage, you want to move around it, but always be moving towards it. And this elite, of course, we have much more damage at this point, so we were able to clear it much quicker than the previous one. And Ghost ends up with a super powerful endgame, because we will end up with an enormous amount of effective HP. And of course, have been scaling our stats the entire game with our ethereal weapon set. Obviously, it would also be really fun to find a scythe, so still holding out some hope for that. We have a mix of ethereal weapons and quite high luck, which gives us the highest possible chance of finding scythe. Minus pickup range is a little bad, but I guess the gnome is okay for 10 melee damage. It brings our flat melee up to 50. I think that's worth doing just because then our stuff is going to do really well. I'm, of course, going to recycle the padding, and I'm going to start just building some lifesteal here. Just any methods of healing that we get are going to be valuable. I'd have liked a different way of building dodge than the leather vest, but I'm still going to buy it because we do want our dodge to be capped. Keep rolling. I'll buy the piercing damage as well for our Ghost Scepters and roll again. Wings is going to be excellent. Coffee's still very good, of course, and I will roll again. Do I want this schmoop? I think I probably do. We can accept a little bit of minus damage in exchange for getting our HP regen up to a more reasonable amount. Going to wave 19. Pick up consumables because we have the sad tomato, so getting those going helps a lot. Yeah, and I'm liking the Alien Eyes purchase. I think that was a good decision by me, if I do say so myself, because it's applying lifesteal, so it's really helping mitigate the healing issues that this character build was having otherwise. Normally you would just end up with a decent amount of health regen and not have to worry about this, but this character build did come together a little weirdly. Up to 700. And I'm just going to recycle the Pocket Factory. Missile, I think, is worth taking at this point. And then I'm just going to take flat ranged damage. I think that's going to help our damage output the most. We'll grab Schmoop and Speed and roll. It really wants to give us the Pocket Factory. Roll again. Could upgrade my Ghost Axe or buy a crown. I don't think we need either of those things. I guess another Ghost Axe I could combine to a level 3 Ghost Scepter. This will help some in terms of damage, especially because our melee weapons are better than our ranged weapons. And I guess head injury is more likely to matter than what we're likely to find from rolling. Although, actually, I would have been able to buy handcuffs, I think, so maybe I was wrong. Do I want Cute Monkey or Goat Skull? I think Cute Monkey, probably, because healing is the thing that we need the most of, so I'm just going to grab this. It does decrease our range damage a little, but we now only have the one ranged weapon. Alright, so we end up with a ton of stats, obviously negative armor, but normally I think you would end up with quite a bit more HP and a little bit less in terms of damage and attack speed, but this build is ended up not horribly atypical of what you want on the Ghost, just got there kind of a weird way. Any hits that I take are going to hit very hard, of course, so I do need to be aware of that and dodge pretty well. Trying to stack up the enemies so that my melee weapons hit them both at once. Oh, I dodged one hit and then took another hit and then actually put myself in quite a lot of danger by walking into a bunch of attacks there. Not like a ton of danger, because getting hit by all of those in a row would have been fairly unlikely given our 90% dodge, but no need to rely on luck. Alright, my friends, this has been the Ghost. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. This is one of the most requested classes, and I think one of the ones that requires like the most specific playstyle to win. If you are struggling with the mixed weapon build, also definitely try just building Ghost Scepters and just building ranged damage and buying attack speed and percent damage as normal. And then you can just focus on range damage and ignore flat melee damage. This build, we got a lot of free flat melee damage, so it ended up working out well that we also had a lot of melee weapons, and you have to adapt as you find stuff. Alright, my friends, thank you so much for watching, and as always, if you've enjoyed this video, do please feel free to leave a comment, like the video, and subscribe to my channel for more of this and other strategy game content. We are getting down into the final stretch of Brotato vanilla class guides, and I'm excited for what comes next, so stay tuned. Cheers, folks, and I'll catch you next time.